Now, on to our next story of the evening, and I'm afraid to say it's certainly not upbeat in any way, but we're going to have an interesting discussion about this. Manchester United, Mason Greenwood, that player, they've agreed to part ways following an internal investigation by the club. Let's remind you what happened. The now 22-year-old was arrested and charged for attempted rape and assault in January last year. The striker later had the charges against him dropped after a key witness withdrew their support and new material came to light. United, who launched their own investigation, said today that their inquiries have now ended. United's spokesperson saying all those involved, including Mason, recognised the difficulties with him recommencing his career at Manchester United. It has therefore been mutually agreed that it would be most appropriate for him to do so away from Old Trafford, and we will now work with Mason to achieve that outcome. That was the statement from the club. I am joined now to discuss more of this by Professor Ellis Cashmore, academic and author of the book Studying Football, and by the UK's first female FIFA licensed football agent, Rachel Anderson. The two of you, great to have you to speak about this. Hello, good evening. And, I'd like to make clear that obviously the allegations at the heart of this are sensitive. They involve young people. Not here to make a moral judgment against either party. Those were the facts of what's happened that we just reminded people of. The allegations and then the fact that they were dropped and the negotiations that have happened since then. And Greenwood hasn't been playing. We've been wondering what's going to happen to him. What is interesting to talk to you both about is the fact that the club at this point has had to almost step in and play judge and jury about what to do with Mason Greenwood's future, whether to keep him on or not. I will come to you first, Rachel, and just ask you very simply, have they made the right call here?
They've made the right call for Man United, for sure, because they have an asset that they would like to get some of their money back for, and he's a very valuable asset. I mean, he's a great player, there's no denying that, but he just wouldn't be able to play here, that's for sure. So they need to try and loan him out and try and get some money for him, hopefully with a potential sale to a country where he'll be happy and everyone else will be happy.
OK, there's a lot I want to ask you about your comments, but I also just want to get across to Professor Ellis Cashmore and get your simple answer to that. Have the club made the right decision?
No, poor decision.
Go on.
Because I think they're shirking the responsibility. United, they're a club. As such, I think they should at least give this guy a chance to rehabilitate himself. Everybody's capable of making a mistake, particularly in their youth. I have. I'm sure most of our viewers have at some point in their lives. And so they should be given a second chance. United are denying this guy that.
I mean, I'll come back to you, Rachel. You were listening to that just there. I hope you could hear what Professor Ellis Cashmore was saying. I'll allow you to respond. Go on.
Well, it's not Man United's job to rehabilitate somebody. Why would you need to rehabilitate somebody if they haven't done anything wrong?
First
I don't
of all,
understand.
I think it is the football club's responsibility to rehabilitate. Sport, historically, has been one of those experiences where people from all walks of life who have made mistakes, sometimes been in trouble with the law, sometimes have done prison time, they go to sport and they find themselves in sport, they find themselves some positive direction, some pursuit, and they usually can straighten them. I shouldn't say usually, but a great many times they can straighten themselves out. So I think football does have a sense of responsibility in that sense.
Can I just ask just quickly so that I can understand where the professor's coming from? Do you have daughters or sisters or anybody?
I have no children.
You have no children, okay. Because there are certain things that if a child misbehaves, then you'll give them another chance. But when something is as serious as this, how many chances do you get?
You're saying it's serious, Rachel, but all charges have been dropped. This is
we all know, we're not silly. We all know that occasionally...
You say you're not silly. Legally, the man is free and clear. He has done nothing wrong in the eyes of the law.
So just to jump in here, he's not been cleared from the point of view of having been tried on those allegations. The allegations were withdrawn by a key witness.
Well, there is a difference,
Other material came forward. Go on.
The outcome is the same. He is a free man.
No.
And there are no
listen-
charges pending.
Let's listen
No.
to Mason Greenwood's statement in full. He said, "I want to start by saying I understand people will judge me because of what they've seen and heard on social media, and I know people will think the worst. I was brought up to know violence or abuse is wrong. I did not do the things I was accused of. However, I fully accept I made mistakes. I take my share of responsibility for the situations which led to the social media post. I'm learning to understand my responsibilities," to set a good example as a professional footballer. Then he goes on to talk about the decision made with the club. Like I said, really complex set of allegations here, very complicated. We have to reiterate the charges were withdrawn, dropped. There have been...
And the upshot of this, Rosanna, is that this guy is not going to find another club, certainly not in England, probably not in Europe, nor even in Saudi. The guy has been put out to dry and may no longer have any kind of professional career ahead of him.
Go ahead, Rachel, because you brought up in your first answer that he would find it hard to find work in this country, but you think he could find work overseas?
Of course. I mean, there's a matter of an actual fact is that most clubs will do a deal with the devil, and it's just he is an amazing player, and any club that gets him as a player will get a good deal.
But what about the club's sponsors? They may not be so keen on him.
So what's Man United supposed to do? They're just supposed to just let him sit on the sidelines?
Well,
You have no idea.
Rachel, for all we know,
how difficult that would be for the player to never play. All his life, or short as it is, he has trained, he is very skilled, and he will want to play. Whether it's at Man United or whether it's another club, he will want to play.
I know he'll want to play, but how many clubs are willing to take the risk
Let's also talk about the reason why, one of the key reasons likely why they couldn't retain him, which was fans. There've been women fans outside the club who've been protesting outside and saying they want Man U to take this seriously.
They will at every other club he attempts to go to.
And there have been there's been a differentiation, some are saying, between the match day fans and what they're saying in the stadium, and then versus the online fans who are probably quicker to make judgment, because obviously we know being behind a keyboard allows you to say things a lot more quickly.
Yeah, you're right.
So in terms of the pressure that the club is facing, how has that influenced things, Rachel?
Well, they have an industry that they have to protect it. You know, they have their sponsors, etc. And
so the sponsors are a factor in the mix.
Sorry?
Go on, Ellis. Sorry.
So the sponsors are a factor in the mix, you reckon now?
No, I've always reckoned that sponsors are in the mix. I didn't say they weren't.
Maybe Adidas had something to say about this?
I just think that the fact that you're saying that Man United should keep him to rehabilitate him, I've never heard anything so ridiculous, to be honest.
Professor, I also want to ask...
Let me just remind Rachel, and I think she may recall the Eric Cantona incident. I mean, it was a long time ago, 27 years or whatever. This is a guy that was convicted and sentenced to jail time. He didn't serve it initially because he appealed it, but Manchester United stood by Cantona. In fact, they pursued him. They went cap in hand to ask him to come back.
Yeah.
Perhaps we're mixing our conceptions of rehabilitation here. I'm not saying
it's totally different. The accusations are totally different.
The difference is that he was convicted.
That was also going to raise,
totally different.
Professor Ellis, the point that I know there have been previous examples of sportsmen and footballers who have broken rules and been, charged and convicted even, and have remained with clubs. Is this not a sign of the times changing?
It is.
Yeah.
You're precisely right. The times are changing and in fact they've changed colossally since the Me Too movement gained momentum, which is a great thing, of course. But it is symptomatic of the world in which we live that no one is prepared to stand by someone who is, in the eyes of the law, innocent, but has the stigma attached to him or her, as the case may be.
The charges,
and this is the problem.
The charges were dropped, or the case didn't continue because a witness withdrew. I would like to know what the percentage is, and someone far cleverer than me will be able to tell me. The tiny percentage of rape cases or sexual assault that actually go to trial, because invariably it's if it's a sexual assault against a female, it's the female that withdraws because of the pressure and the terrible situation. I mean, there are thousands of rapes, unfortunately, every year, of which a tiny percentage go to court, let alone get convicted.
Rachel, we do also have to clarify, of course, that the charges were withdrawn and dropped. But hearing your point loud and clear, both of you, we have to end things there. Really appreciate it, though. It's been fascinating. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.